Hello out there and welcome to Telling Tales. We make atmospheric tabletop role-playing game actual plays and stream them for you here on Twitch, and then we put them on YouTube as well, because we wouldn't want YouTube to be left out of the loop, the wonderful little indie startup company that it is. Hi everyone. I am thoroughly exhausted and running on fumes, so tonight's slightly absurdist industrial punk fantasy explorathon might be even more surreal than usual. We'll just have to find out. Welcome. Promo first, right? That's what we usually do. If you check down below, there's a whole bunch of links to YouTube and Twitch. You're watching on one. Please do check out the other and like and subscribe and blah, 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 blah. There's also links to our Patreon, our Discord, and our social media. If those are things that tickle your fancy, why not give them a tickle? I don't know. We run 3 weekly shows at the moment. Mondays is Warhammer with Sam. Wednesdays is this, Into the Odd with me, which is an interim from our usual Symbaroum flagship. And Tuesdays is Cincinnati Chronicles. That's our World of Darkness anthology series, which tomorrow will play host to our finale of our Wraith the Oblivion arc, and then Changeling the Dreaming is still to come. We also run one-shots about once a month, the last one of which was only a week and a half ago now, where we played Morkborg. It's now going up on YouTube. We normally, they're pretty spaced out on the channel, but for once, we're doing another one-shot almost immediately. So this Saturday, that is Saturday, June the 2nd. Yes, June the 2nd. We'll be playing Absurdia, which is a lovely little indie RPG. I will get the description of it now because it is something I struggle to remember off the top of my head. An absurdist modern fantasy role-playing game about the inane hilarity and understated horror of everyday life. Honestly, sounds like my week. So, yes, we'll be playing that on Saturday. I believe Pierre, I know Pierre will be running it because I've been arranging it with him. So that'll be fun. So tune in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon BST on Saturday if you want to check that out. That translates to 10 a.m. EDT for our cross-Atlantic friends. Yeah, I think that's the promo. That's pretty much all the promo. So with that in mind, let's start introducing players and talking about what happened last week. First off, though, as is our custom, we'll bring on people who missed last time so they don't have to kind of like sit there in the dark like they've done something wrong. So first off, it's Mike. Mike's back. Hello, Mike.
Hello.
Hello. Mike plays Yernak Farsi, which I can, in fact, share the character art for that. How wonderful. There we go. Yeah, Yernak is a young, naive fellow with a large knife. Do you think that's a fair description of him?
Yeah, he's also got other weapons, including a half-brick.
A half-brick, which he successfully lobbed at a monkey man.
Also, I've just realised that the knife pictured could also be his tyrant's rod, which we described as like a metal and bone
it could.
Sort of thing. So, yeah, it could be the tyrant's rod.
Maybe it can represent both.
Yeah.
Just up to the interpretation of the viewer, you know? I don't know where I'm going with this bit. Let's bring on the next... there's going to be a lot of that tonight. Let's bring on the next player who will start describing the recap from last week. It's Stephen, a.k.a. Grabina Gill, attractive dullard.
Yeah, and so's my character, in fact.
Oh, you.
Yeah, so... well, I guess we started the session in the immediate aftermath of the untimely death of Munford Dunbell, who was our mentor of sorts. That's Helroth. I don't think we have a picture of Grabina.
Yeah, but I don't have Grabina's art for you, so I was
Helroth
just say you also play Helroth at the end of the thing. But
yes, Helroth is my other character who is currently lost and alone somewhere deep within the Iron Coral, having hurled himself down a foamy chute.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the rest of the party, joined by Grabina, witnessed Munford getting eaten by some kind of sea creature. Moved on fairly swiftly from that. Had a little look in a room to the north, which had some kind of husks, so sort of shambling zombie-like creatures, I guess, which are mostly ignoring us, and then some pedestals with some kind of orbs, kind of crystal balls on there. Grabina went and grabbed one of those, which immediately alerted the attention of the husks in that sort of predictable monster trap kind of way that those encounters go sometimes. So we fought our way out of there. And the only other way to go was deeper into the coral, down some stairs. So we did that. I think that's where we hand over. Or did you want to? Did you want some downstairs?
No, you are quite right. That's where we split the recaps. I'm just kind of the synapses. They do nothing.
Just do mostly sound effects tonight, Matt, and we'll be fine. We'll get through it.
So just normal, like normal.
Yeah.
So our next player is Sam. Sam plays Tiva Oliphant, whose art I will pop up any second now. But Sam, why don't you tell us what happened next?
So yeah, we arrived downstairs. It didn't seem too bad immediately. There was some kind of colorful coral around. A few rooms with different smelling air, I seem to remember, and sticky air and stale air and all kinds of different air flowing around in here, which was nice, I guess. We eventually got to a room with kind of, I think it was like a sticky room with a sort of rock in it. And as we were sort of moving through, Tiva decided to have a little bit of a poke at this rock, which turned out to be a kind of a weird finned creature made of something like rock, as in the rock that you eat, and gave Tiva a pretty good slap, a pretty good fin slap. Would have been sent Tiva flying, but in the end, okay, and we decided to leave that room alone. We later came across a room with like a piece of armor on the wall, and I think it was agreed because everyone else had got a kind of crystal ball or something good from this place that Tiva could go and get this armor, for better or worse. It turned out there was a snake living in it. The snake could kind of talk, but seemed cautious but relatively friendly. Told us to go away, but also that there was nothing wrong with the armor. So Tiva eventually took the armor and now has this armor written down on her sheet as the Violet Carapace without really knowing what it does, other than it does something.
Yeah, added to the list of arcanum that the party doesn't know what they do, including Chris's, I think it's called the Death Hand or something like that. Yeah, absolutely. It's worth noting that after you got the Violet Carapace off the wall, you did have to empty out the previous occupant.
Yeah, there was the remains of a person in it, along with the snake, who
I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, should be all good. Probably doesn't kill whoever's wearing it. Most likely, maybe. It's going to be very interesting when we get into any kind of combat and suddenly have all these random effects from whatever our items do.
Yeah.
We carried on a little bit. We entered into a room that, at least we think it was a room. We're not quite sure what it was as a space, but there was a man in there who was very confused, seemed to have been there a long time, and he was trying to figure out how many walls there were, but this had sort of hypnotized him / just confused him beyond the ability to reason his way out of this room. But we managed to point him in the right direction because none of us could be bothered to think about how many walls this room had, luckily for us. And then I think we kind of also backtracked out of this room and carried on doing a little bit more exploration without messing with this this strange.
I would
when
like
you
to
sit
emphasize
in
the
space.
geometry of the interior of the room was really weird and confusing. It wasn't just a normal room where you go in and go 1, 2.
None of us can count to 4 is the real issue.
I mean, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. But our final player tonight, last but certainly not least, let's bring on Chris. Chris plays Doran Creed, gentleman butler and applier of heavy candelabra. Chris, how did we wrap up last week?
Well, first off, I would like to apologise. Matt's having a difficult time, and we have had some very heated words in our pre-meeting today about Star Wars, and everyone's a little bit raw. So if our performance is a little bit bad, we'll chumble through it. But in jokes aside, we came to I recall it being a very large and grandiose room with a obscure kind of Crystal Maze-esque, Perspex-esque box in the middle, which contained a lever. And I say box, it was basically a sub-chamber. So we all walked in, and Doran, feeling a little bit left out, decided to go into the chamber and maybe check it out. Decided to close the door behind himself and pull the lever, because why wouldn't you? At which point the door locked and the room filled with a terrifying green gas that just made Doran a little tiny bit older.
Yeah, just a little bit shit.
Yeah,
just made you a bit shitter.
I
Yeah.
want to know what else was on the table you rolled, because I'm pretty sure there was some pretty fantastic
it wasn't a
things
table,
there.
Chris. It was not a table at all. I asked you to roll, and do you remember what you rolled? You rolled a D3 and then a D20.
Yeah, I think it was something like an 11 on the D20 and a 1 on the D3.
Yeah. Shall I tell you how it works? Just what it did?
Yeah.
The D3 was which stat it affects, and I can't remember if it was 3D6 or D20. Is just the new number of your stat.
So I could have come out of there superhuman if I'd have rolled the 20. Yeah.
Well, the most boring roll would have been doing it all and having the same number, I guess.
Yeah.
But yours was just you got a little bit shitter.
So we then went into an adjoining room, which turned out to be a literal, indescribably accurate recreation of one of the subterranean canalways from Bastion, which we're all familiar with in character, which spooked the flumps out of literally everyone. We were just getting our theories together on what could be going on here when the sound of pursuit came from behind us, and there seemed to be a war party of several small and some not so small, angry goblin-esque creatures intent on some form of violence who were trying to chase us down. I should also point out that
they were humanoids with fish eyes instead of heads. Which is a lot more gross.
That's pretty terrifying, actually. However, one thing I should point out about the room that was different is that at the far end there was like a cleft and a ladder leading down. So we jumped this canal, fled down the ladder. I believe Mike put grease on the ladder.
Yeah, I think that was Grabina. Grabina greased the ladder,
which is just incredible. I was just going to take the ladder down, but Grabina made it so that it's going to be very difficult for us to get back up again. I absolutely love the yeah.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
Oh no, it's a great idea. It's just a terrible idea. We found ourselves in a long corridor with various exits, but under pursuit. I directed the party to a very narrow passageway that we could kind of, our assumed pursuers probably in following us, we could kind of hold them off in. But they all lost interest, but not before we came to a room with like a pool of white kind of ambrosia-like substance in the middle, from which a large and seemingly quite friendly being emerged, who we kind of couldn't directly communicate with, but was clearly intelligent and was just keen to help. And he has some kind of bean.
Feels like you've given this big red floating bean purpose.
Yes, he also has some bean children. We have named them Mumford Dunbean in honor of those who have come before us. And
in honor of those who were eaten by a sea serpent before us.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, wonderful. And that's where we ended last week, because we couldn't think of anything better than ending on the horrible pun of Mumford Dunbean. So with that in mind, folks, before we get actually fully started, one thing I would like to do is that, in common with, I know some other people on our Discord, this week something arrived in the mail a couple of days ago. No, not that thing. That thing you sent me. No, I'm not. We're not talking about that. But instead, look at this. Look at this lovely Kickstartery thing.
Yeah.
It's a real object, not just a figment of our favorite imagination.
Very nice. This reprint of this new version of Into the Odd. Look at it. This is why we play it. It smells amazing. I just want you to all know that. So, yeah, I just thought I'd flash that at the screen. Look at me with my disposable income and possessions. Yeah.
Hashtag not sponsored. Get in touch, Stockholm Cartel. We'll call us.
Call us. Yeah, there we go. Into the Odd. All right, folks. Let's pick up where we left off. I will describe that room for you again. I think we were more or less done with the room of beans, as it were. But the walls are a dull red stone, softer touch and clay-like. There's a pool in the center of the room with a gold thorn-like pattern around the outside and milky water concealing probably now 3 kind of reddish bean-like forms just kind of like poking their nose, for want of a better word, out of the fluid and watching you all. One of them has emerged and is now just following you around happily, of course, Mumford Dunbean. There is a narrow passageway to the west of the chamber, leading back where you came from, back to the kind of expensive seeming corridor. And there is another corridor leading to the south, from which is emerging a chemical smell. And there's no need to worry about the mapping, Mike, because Sam has taken over in your absence.
I'm doing an amazing job of mapping this area.
Hey, I thought it was good. So where are we going, folks? Are we going back to the hallway and taking a different route, or are we going down this chemical smelling corridor to the south?
My friends, I am tired of running from weird smells.
Are you tired of running from fisheye people?
I'm also quite tired of running from fisheye people, but I think...
You want to fall asleep beside the milky pool?
Do you know what? That sounds delightful.
I think the beans will protect us. They seem very nice.
And so
are you proposing? Yeah, proposing a nap. I think
I thought that's what you were proposing.
I'm proposing going down the smelly corridor, for want of any other turn of phrase whatsoever.
I think I need a willpower roll just to not. Yeah, I successfully avoid making smutty jokes about going down the smelly corridor. All right.
Okay, so we're going down this corridor to the south, from which, as I say, is emerging a kind of unpleasant chemical smell. So just to detail it for Sam's mapping purposes, you walk down a corridor that's kind of like, I will call it a mid-length corridor for our mapping purposes. Sam, represent that however you will. And you emerge into a chamber that has sort of a slightly industrial sense to it. There is kind of piping along the walls. There is smashed machinery scattered around, primarily of kind of glass and metal, that seems to have, at first glance, you think they're kind of human bodies, and then you realize no, they're only humanoid body parts. that are kind of scattered among the smashed machinery, pale and soft and odd humanoid parts. There's no blood or kind of like horrible gore or anything like that. It's almost as though they're kind of disembodied bits of humanoids that are just scattered among the wreckage. There are little pools of what look like water on the floor, but any kind of close examination or moving near them whatsoever you'll see that they're much more akin to a kind of thick slime. There is a corridor leading back to the north, which you came from, and another corridor leading to the south. And there is also a random encounter roll. Ooh, well then, we're not done. As you enter the room, coming in from the other corridor ahead of you is some kind of odd device. It seems to be a kind of wheeled metal box with no kind of significant external features. It rolls into the room, spins round, and starts saying something to you in some kind of odd alien tongue. The tone seems to be kind of slightly outraged and slightly kind of inquiring something of you. In fact, if someone wants to make a willpower roll to give over some kind of impression, I might even give you more sense of what it might be saying.
I will go ahead and give a traditional good afternoon.
I like
think that's a pass.
Elroth lives on in some way.
Yes.
The
11 out of 13.
The odd alien tongue sort of steadies a bit, but it still is garbling things at you in a kind of it's sound effects Matt in this series apparently, and it's kind of going. It seems to be challenging you somewhat as to your presence here. As you watch, a little like circle like opens up on its surface, and what looks like a little kind of like a loud clacker, like a child might have in the street as a toy that would annoy everyone around him, like starts to kind of come up and starts to kind of slowly spin round as if to start creating some kind of loud noise.
Has the bean followed us?
The bean is indeed still there.
I would like to ask the bean.
Dun bean.
Yeah, dun bean.
And it actually is a dun bean. The colour, dun, brownish red.
Oh, God.
That makes it worse.
It's a bean.
It's
a bean. Mumford to Dunbean.
Do you know this creature? Can you communicate with this creature for us, Mr. Bean?
Not Mr. Bean would get sued. Or accused of cancelling comedy or something. A Dunbean kind of tilts his head at you, not that it has a head or any kind of body part to speak of, and glides softly over to the rolling box and just kind of starts to nudge it slightly. It doesn't seem to have a huge effect, and the box seems to be further alarmed by this and is letting out alarming squeaking noises. That clapper thing is still sort of speeding up. It's going to make quite a racket.
I don't think he's friends with Mr. Dunbean.
Throw a blanket over it?
You got a blanket on you? I tell you what, Chris, if you roll 11 to 20 on a D20, you have a blanket with you.
13. Oh.
Yeah, you need something to comfort you on those cold nights under the stars. You going to throw your blanket over it?
No. Oh, sorry. If I rolled up, I thought it was going to be rolling low. Yes, from within my candelabra, I will take out a very small travel blanket.
Like wrapped around the base of it, sort of wrapped around
Yes.
the center of it. Yeah, sure.
And I will just kind of run over to the box and kind of throw the blanket over it. Not 100%. Like, this is not a well thought out plan. I'd like to point out now for the purpose of accounting.
Absolutely. Why don't you give us a dex roll then?
Oh, my dex!
I know that's
so
your
bad.
really good stat.
I fail.
Okay. You throw a blanket out of it, another hole kind of opens up on the side, and a small, very rudimentary mechanical arm pops out and sort of grabs the blanket and just starts waving it furiously as the clapper spins round and round and round and round and round, and is now very loud and definitely advertising its presence. And you know what that means, folks? That means we get another roll on the encounter table. So, now I don't know if people have been watching for a few weeks, but there is a metallic thumping noise, sort of crunching towards the room from the corridor from which the metal box rolled.
Just someone help? Question mark.
Okay, so Grabina is going to approach the wheeled box, brandishing her tub of grease, and attempt to sort of jam up the
like glob
rattle.
the grease into the alarm spinner.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that definitely works. It definitely gunks up the system, and the spinner, like the clacker, has kind of stopped spinning around and is now just unpleasantly juddering round and round slowly in the greasy sludge. It definitely doesn't stop whatever is approaching from the corridor from approaching, however. And emerging from that corridor is a part rusted metallic humanoid. It's quite large. It's more than a little aggressive looking, and it's thrashing round kind of unpleasant looking wires that have blinking red and silver lights on them. It kind of turns and faces you all, and in a sort of very vocoder kind of metallic robotic voice says, "You will be wrapped up to suffer in the pain wires."
This is frankly unacceptable at this stage. I'm becoming a little overloaded, friends. I may need to resort to some form of violence.
Is it carrying the wires, or are the wires part of it?
The wires are definitely part of it. Like, rather than hands, it has these like drooping, they kind of just look like, cheap, like really LED Christmas light strings, like blinking, and it's kind of like waving them around, and they don't seem animated in any way. Like it just seems to be proposing that it come near you and like flail at you until you are wrapped in said pain wires. Is there any particular response to this? It's definitely stomping forward with the intent of wrapping you in pain wire.
I will tell it to halt with my tyrant's rod.
Okay. You go ahead and do that. Let's have a little description of the tyrant. Oh, we already kind of have done, haven't we?
Yeah, metal, bone, stick, point at the baddie, tell it to hold.
Absolutely. Tell it to hold. The mechanical tormentor stomps forward like another step or so, and then kind of halts and says, I do not understand. You are still not wrapped in the pain wires.
Don't make me feel bad about the poor robot.
We could sneak past now.
Do you control robots, Yannick?
I can control that robot, but I can't stop the other robot from making loud noises. Only Grabina can do that.
And that little wheeled thing, the like a little wheeled alarm, is indeed kind of like it's rolling backwards and forwards, seemingly in some confusion and desperately trying to spin that clacker louder again, but the grease will not allow it to do so.
I am a little incensed, and I would like to also test a little theory I've had. I'm going to slap the robot with my glove in a fit of like quite incensed for some reason. Doran Creed is on the crest of another bad part of his breakdown.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, you reach forward and you. Now, I'm going to need some clarity on what the Tyrant Rod does here, Mike. You just told it to halt, right?
Yeah, it actually does need to roll willpower to resist. I'm not sure if you did that.
It doesn't have its willpower listed here, but I will just I will when in doubt, let's go half and half. I mean, I already did have it stop, so we'll say that it did that. But it only halts, right? Now halt can be interpreted a number of different ways. It doesn't paralyze it, right? It doesn't stop it moving entirely. It just stopped it moving forward. And with that in mind, I think as Doran Creed approaches, he's going to get wrapped in pain wires. So with that in mind,
who could have possibly foreseen this happening?
With that in mind, have you got any armor, Doran Creed?
I do. I have +1.
Okay, then. Well, that's good. As you kind of step forward, and you say you're going to like slap the creature with the gloved Arcanum hand, right?
I'm going to slap the robot. Yes, it's about time someone put this bully back in his place.
Absolutely. You kind of slap the mechanical tormentor, and it says, "Ow, pain wires," and like just starts flailing and like these things kind of like contort over you. As soon as they make contact with your body, they seem to find a life of their own and just kind of wrap sort of painfully tight around your extremities. Kind of one hand is seized, an elbow, and then you start to get really quite alarming, burning, stinging, stabbing sensations where like you're in the coils of a jellyfish. Those blinking lights kind of flash kind of more fervently and more swiftly. You're in quite a bit of pain. I would say, in fact, off the top of my head, 6 health points worth of pain is what that will do to you. So,
what was that number again? Sorry, I lost it.
6.
6. Wow.
6.
Wow, that's well over my HP.
Yeah, so that will start impacting your strength, I'm afraid. That strength that already took a battering from the mutation chamber.
So, okay, let's run this through again once more for my good self. So 6 points against my 4. That gives me my a -2 deficit. Now I have +1 armor, so I assume that means my strength goes down.
I already applied the armor because it was 7 points of damage.
Okay.
So that is definitely critical damage. Could you? So after adjusting your strength, take your strength down by 2 for now. I mean, don't permanently reduce it; just note it down, and then do a strength save with your new amount of strength.
It's not good. That's a 15.
Okay. So Doran has taken critical damage, which means they're unable to take further action until they are tended to and have a short rest. So, Doran is kind of like slumped, wrapped up in the pain wire, while the mechanical tormentor is standing firmly over him, saying, "Yes, my purpose fulfilled."
I'm happy I made the robot happy.
Doran, for his part, is letting out a kind of noise.
I feel like you should have bought him a drink first, Mr. Robot, says Grabina whilst pulling out a musket.
Sure. Yep. I mean, the thing can't actually move. It's just got Doran there. So I think, Grabina mentioned drawing a weapon first. So I take it you're just shooting the thing?
Trying to avoid shooting Doran, shooting it in whatever looks most like a face.
Sure, absolutely. It's got like a sort of a semi-rusted kind of blankish face, just with a couple of like lumps that might vaguely suggest
Sure.
humanoid features.
That's the weak point of any robot.
Yeah, why don't you give me a damage?
It's D8, which I've got on a dice roller here. 3.
Okay. And what is that? Is that a musket?
Musket, yeah.
Yeah. You draw your musket and fire at what looks like the thing's face and blast kind of a big chunk of rust and metal like shears off and falls away. And the robot kind of like rears backwards and says, "No, please, I surrender. I dispense pain. I am not accustomed to it."
Will you stop hurting our friend?
If I must. The pain wires drop away from Doran Creed, who's still on the floor, kind of. But the mechanical tormentor, it's kind of trying to shuffle backwards, but still somewhat under the effect of the tyrant rod, and is just going, "Please, no more, no more. A tormentor should not be tormented."
I think you should probably leave.
It kind of makes odd, but robotic burbling noises, perhaps, akin to some real mechanical sadness. And he's kind of trying to shuffle out of the room the way it came, but as I say, under the effect of the tyrant rod, so a little bit of difficulty. Anyone going to tend to Doran?
Yeah, I'll pull Doran at least a little bit away from this robot. try and get him back on his feet.
Yeah, Doran. If you can give him a little bit of water and tender loving care, Doran can scramble up to his feet. You can get all your HP back, Doran, but that strength is damaged, I think, until a long rest, right? Of some kind. Yeah, full rest, a week of downtime.
Well, at least we made a robot friend. For some quantities of friend.
You tormented the mechanical tormentor. That doesn't sound like friendship. You were very mean to him. All he wanted to do was wrap you in his pain wires.
We found common ground in the end. Yeah, so I'll suppose I'll pick myself back up after a few minutes and go, "Oh, is he vanquished?"
Well, hopefully he's going to stop now.
Diplomacy, then. Okay. Oh, I could do with a few days off.
Do you want to go back to the milky pool and have a nap?
Yeah, we could have that nap by the milky pool like you wanted.
That does sound pretty good, actually.
All right, see you later.
With that in mind, are we... Oh, yes. Oh, lovely. Welcome, Bastionland, assuming you are who I think you might be. Thank you for this. We're enjoying it. So, yeah, we've got all that smashed machinery on the floor, and the pools of kind of thick, slimish water. Obviously, we can investigate that if we want to at all, but there is that another corridor leading to the south. That is the way forward, unless we want to go backwards and go another way.
Can I take a look at this machinery and see if I can figure out what it's for?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Why don't you... I don't like rolling things like that in this system for like figuring things out. Why don't we just have... No, you know what? Yeah, give me a will roll. Why not? Give me a will roll.
Okay.
I want to know what Tiva would think this was for.
My willpower is 9. I rolled a 9, so I think I make it.
Yeah, you think that perhaps like they're definitely kind of poddish in their feel, and these sort of like humanoid bits that have like slumped out of it are sort of maybe were inside it at a certain point in time. whether they were being grown or you couldn't even begin to figure out the exact purpose. But
Strange machines they got here. Don't like it much. Maybe we should leave them alone.
Right, no treasure then.
Let's
it
move on.
doesn't seem like it. Are we
Yes,
moving forwards? We're not going back and sort of rerouting ourselves. Okay. Then you stride to the south, folks. Or is it the south? Yes, it is the south. Another kind of but maybe a slightly longer corridor there, Sam. And you emerge into again, a kind of medium-sized room. It's quite lavish around, I'd say, again, sort of like gold and marble and kind of very, very presentable, especially compared to kind of further up within the Iron Coral. The room is dominated on the south wall by a huge silver-framed mirror, with a very bright reflection, almost as if, from our perspective, like you're being presented onto like a screen with a huge amount of bloom on it. As for the layout of the room, there is a corridor back up north with a chemical smell. That's where you come from. There is a stairway down to the east, and to the west is a passageway that doesn't seem to have a terrible amount of light coming from it. And also, we've entered a new room, which means that nothing happens.
Gonna go and give that mirror a poke.
Sure, absolutely. Well, as you get closer to the mirror, Grabina, and as you're focusing on it, that too brightness to it kind of starts to dull a little bit. And then the image starts to shift until it oddly seems to be showing you walking through the Iron Coral in passageways you haven't seen before, in rooms you haven't seen before. Yeah.
Okay. So
We
me
all
not
see
in
that?
reflection.
Yeah, it's it's like you're seeing it from the perspective of a reflection, in that it's you facing you, as it were, but you're kind of looking around, and the entire backdrop and you moving around is a place you haven't seen before.
Okay.
It looks kind of familiar to this area. It's those kind of like gold, marble, fancy-ish environs, but you haven't seen these rooms and these corridors before.
It's weird, isn't it?
Are the others looking at that, by the way?
Yeah, I think I'll
yeah.
take a step up.
Okay, I will go so far as to say you are all seeing what Grabina is seeing, and by that I mean yourselves going through rooms and chambers you haven't seen before. You are not seeing each other, but being as no one said, "Look, it's me," I'd say that you're under the impression that what Grabina means is, "Look, it's you." You know what I mean?
This is a terrible mirror. It's useless.
Well, it's
Not even
different though, isn't it?
slightly accurate. I mean, it's different, but the size of it. Ugh. I will take my attention elsewhere.
Okay, Darren Creed has stopped watching. Is everyone else continuing to watch themselves wandering through this place? It's solid. It's solid,
Okay.
Gravina.
Yernak's like very confused and is like tussling his hair and seeing if his reflection does the same thing and moving his arms and seeing if there's any response from what he's seeing. And then he shrugs
Absolutely,
and walks off.
absolutely none. Continuing to watch?
Walking off.
Walking off. Okay. Grabina, Tiva, are you carrying on watching this? Maybe imaginary, maybe prescient you wandering these odd places?
Yes, I think I'm also kind of making movements to try and see how my mirror self reacts, but I think I'd be watching it and seeing if I.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
And also, can I see anything in these rooms? Like, is there any distinguishing features of the rooms that I'm seeing myself walk through?
Absolutely. Well, why don't we talk about it a second? But first, I would like to know if Grabina is also watching.
I am, and I think I'm watching other Grabina to see if I can spot any changes between me and her. And if she appears to be looking in a mirror herself, right, or if she appears to be like a reflection, albeit one that's out of sync in a different place,
she doesn't appear to be looking into a mirror herself.
Okay, she's just
you're just
in a
seeing an
room.
image of yourself. It's facing you as if it was a mirror image, and
Okay.
like the background is moving, you know, as she moves around.
Okay. So like frozen then, like completely static.
No. Oh, sorry, I'm so confused.
I'm trying
You're
to-
basically watch. It's as if, to use a modern analogy, it's as if your counterpart in the mirror has like a drone, you know, following in front of them from the same perspective as you're looking.
Okay.
So you can see everything moving past them, and they're like wandering around.
Okay, but they're going through different places, but
Yes.
but don't seem to be aware that they're being watched.
No, not in the slightest.
Okay. I will watch this for a few more seconds, yes, and see if anything happens. After a while, I'll step away though.
Okay. Tiva, your I suppose simulacrum seems to be wandering into a a room that's kind of made of this expensive looking marble, but that has kind of like dried brown splatters on the wall all around it. She kind of wanders forward, kind of like peering up around her in curiosity, and then seems to wander onto a patch of the floor that's kind of made of a shiny kind of steel metal that gives way underneath her and sends her spilling down in what appears to be a pit of watery, gritty slurry that's kind of coming from two pipes on the side of the pit. One of them feeding in just water and the other a kind of thick porridge-like material. She starts kind of like panicking and thrashing around it as she starts to sink.
Tiva immediately looks at the floor to check she's not on a kind of...
It's definitely not this room, and there is definitely no steel trapdoor underneath you.
Oh. Do I see any of these kind of weird brown markings around this room?
No, nothing like that. It's definitely a completely different room.
I don't like this.
Are you carrying on watching?
Yes.
Okay. Grabina, would you say you've turned away? Like, are you watching your own avatar to this point, or have you kind of given up?
Yeah, I think probably up until this point, I'm not going to stand there transfixed for like 10 minutes, but I certainly want to see if I can understand what's happening.
Well, Mira Grabina is wandering through a different room, what looks like maybe the engine room of a steamer ship with a maze of pipes and metal tanks. And as she does so, you can see, like, from your perspective, kind of just above her, there's like a tank that's kind of swaying gently, with visibly kind of like disconnected pipes dangling to one side that look to have been damaged and to have fallen. It looks very precarious and like it's, about maybe to disconnect and fall on Mira Grabina.
I think I'm going to involuntarily sort of shout into the mirror.
Try and help.
Look out, above you.
Okay. You absolutely do that. Are you carrying on watching?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, Tiva, you watch as Mira Tiva starts to like struggle, starts to sink, and then eventually on to where there's just a burbling series of bubbles that slow and fade, with one, like the fingertips of one hand just twitching gently above the surface of the slurry. Grabina, your warnings are not heard by Mira Grabina Gill, who wanders blithely on until with a crack the tank drops and with a splat that would almost be comedic if you weren't watching yourself die. All that's left is kind of like limbs distended under the mass of this sort of rusty iron tank. It's not a pleasant experience for either of you.
I think I will be sort of try to turn away at the point of impact, but yeah.
Sure. Well, if you're trying to turn away, you know what? I'll give you a chance here. Why don't you roll dexterity?
Sure. That's a pass.
Okay. I'd say you wheeled round sort of in time. You get the general impression, and you probably saw the the aftermath of it, but you didn't see yourself, drowning in slurry like Tiva Oliphant did. So with that in mind, Tiva, can you roll a d6? And Grabina, can you roll a d3, please?
Okay.
I've got a 3.
Finally, other people experience the payback of environmental hazards. I'm delighted.
Absolutely, and both rolled the maximum you could have possibly rolled. How wonderful! Watching yourself die just kind of threw you for a loop there, friends. And until your next full rest, you will lose that many points of will, please.
Ooh. Okay,
I like the fact that maybe over to the side of this room, Doran and Yernak are just kind of like, so how's it going for you? Yeah.
Well, what I want to be doing in the meantime is, you mentioned there's gold trim here. I'm going to see if I can kind of candelabra any of that off into
sure.
into
It's like
chunks.
it's really inlaid into a smooth marble floor. But you know what? Let's give me a strength roll, Doran Creed, and don't forget that it's adjusted for your new loss. And I will adjudge what you managed to. No. Yeah, all you're basically doing is like hunched over on the floor, kind of like desperately trying to scrape some inlaid gold that's completely flush with the surface of the marble. Just you dent it a little bit because gold is very soft.
God damn it! Well, that's just awful. Shall we? Are you two okay?
Did anyone see this? The mirror.
Well, yeah, I
The
saw
broken mirror. Yes.
I saw myself have a bit of a whoopsie.
Oh, you didn't see me.
Well, no, I didn't see you. No.
Ah. Okay, good.
That's how mirrors work. You see yourself in them.
I'm telling you,
but
this
like,
mirror is a totally lost cause.
Well, I don't know if it was like the future or something.
I don't know. No, it wouldn't be the future. It must be something else.
Okay.
Tell you what, it's not. It's not a good mirror.
I'll tell you what, Grabina, as you move on from here, mostly satisfied with the explanation of the others, you do glance back and kind of, briefly the bloody hands of Grabina under this big tank just kind of spasm a little bit. So
delicious.
Your companion's explanations can perhaps only go so far in assuaging your internal concern.
Yeah, I guess you needed to tell that to mirror Grabina.
Exactly. So we have the way we've come. We've got a stairway down to the east, and we've got a passageway that looks kind of dark to the west. I'm assuming again we're going forwards and not back. So what direction are we going, folks?
Quite like the look of that dark tunnel, because I don't want to go down any further now.
Yeah, down feels like a big commitment, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Well, that sounds like our decision then. In which case, you enter a really huge room stretching actually, before you do that, I'm completely wrong. You enter a darkened corridor at the end of which seems to be a hanging tapestry of some kind. as in not neatly over the exit, as in your passageway seems to be behind a tapestry that you could kind of like lift aside to, or the part of a tapestry that you could lift aside to move into the room beyond, which I'm going to assume you do because I've already started describing it. But would that be a safe bet, folks?
Yeah.
As I say, a huge room stretching 50 meters in length from north to south. The floor and walls are polished golden tiles, like none of your marble here. This is all gold. The floor has a faintly glowing thorn-like pattern, and the east wall is hung all the way along with a tapestry, part of which you kind of pushed aside to get out from. It depicts small, red, featureless, cherub-like beings in flight. There are a set of doors far to the north, which you would perhaps judge for Sam's purposes. You think it's about the right distance that these are the other set of southern doors in that top corridor you came down into. Does that make sense?
Oh boy. I mean, my map is not gonna.
That's fine.
We've gone down two south passageways since then. I guess this room is just ginormous.
This room is very, very, very big
okay.
from north to south.
Okay.
And there are also a set of large golden doors at the end of this room leading south. And there's also, getting all the encounters for this level out of the way in one go here. Let me give one of them a go. Okay. And as you're kind of looking around, you don't see it at first, and then one of you, I'm going to say it is Doran Creed, see you catch something sort of twitching further up the corridor out of the corner of your eye, and as you look around, try and perceive it, there's something standing there quite still and very translucent, but definitely kind of like moving ever so gently.
Toward us?
No, just standing in place, but just you see a twitch every now and then.
Kind of give it a nice wave and a warm good afternoon.
Give me that will roll.
Yes, a nice clean 6.
Okay. You see another couple of twitches, but no kind of like movement in your direction. It's really quite difficult to perceive what this might be. There's definitely something there.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, my translucent friend.
Who's he talking to?
I've got no idea.
There's some form of translucent friend, like I said.
Let's go and have a look.
Absolutely. Why not?
We should have some of these tiles as well. I wish I'd brought my tile lifter.
So who is wandering over kind of the north to investigate this weird translucent twitching? Grabina, obviously.
Sure.
I'll go.
I think 73 times bitten, 74 fourth time shy. I'm going to hang back a bit and have my rifle ready.
That's really quite fair enough. Okay. Am I right in saying that it's been a while since we have initiatives? Oh, generally the players take their turn.
Yeah.
If there's a risk of it. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So everyone who is wandering to investigate this translucent twitchiness, which you can kind of all definitely now see as you're walking sort of towards it. Everyone who's going in that direction, could you give me dex rolls, please?
Dale.
I needed a 16 and I got a 16. Is that I forget. That's a pass in this one.
Yes. There we go. Then only Grabina Gill can react in time to ward off the attentions of the translucent glass mantis that was really, you know, Doran Creed, you only saw its leg kind of twitching slightly. The ceiling in this place is really quite tall, and so is the glass mantis as it snaps forward and attempts to grasp into you horribly with sharp mandibles. But Grabina gets to go first. So,
gosh, well, I think she's going to try to dive back out of reach.
mm-hmm.
See if she can bring the musket to bear.
Sure. Well, which is it though? Which is it? Hey, are you getting out of range, or are you firing?
Is it dodge or shoot?
It is now.
If there is only time to do one of those two, I think I will dodge. I will get out of range.
And I'm not gonna make you roll for it. Grabina kind of scrambles backwards, and this thing is really quite difficult to see in here. You know, the wall, like everything is very gold or red, and it's kind of like that one single tones of color make it really quite difficult to see the movements of this thing. And it is going to snap at a random one of Yernak and Doran. It's going to snap at Yernak first, sadly. And as it does so, have you got any armor there, Yernak?
No.
Well then, take 5 damage, please, as those mandibles kind of fix themselves around. I think like your shoulder is where it grabs you, and just kind of like you feel like your flesh there kind of like crumpling a bit. It's really quite painful, and you're maybe being lifted slightly off your feet by the thing looming overhead. How does that leave you HP wise?
Well, I've got 1 HP.
Okay, then. Well, then adjust your strength downwards accordingly.
So I take I got hit for 5, 1 HP. So my strength is 13. That goes down to 9.
Correct. And now you have to do a strength save against 9.
And I don't make it.
Okay. You are crippled by the pain of this thing kind of wrestling you around and crushing your shoulder, and until you get pulled back on your feet by one of your companions, you're not going to be any use. So, Tiva Oliphant, let's have you go now.
I think I was probably still thinking about the mirror, but seeing some action, and Yernak being a little bit beaten up by this strange creature, I'm going to draw my sword and dagger and run at this thing to try and hit it if possible.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think you're a bit further back, so maybe it'll take you till next time. But you're involved now. You know what I mean? Okay. You're part of it.
On the way.
So let's swing round to the first full turn of you guys. Obviously, not including Yernak. You get to choose what order you go in, but I'd probably say Grabina should probably go next. But it's up to you three, really.
Yeah. Grabina is going to bring the musket round and aim for the face, the weak point of any glass mantis.
Absolutely. Glass mantises, mechanical tormentors.
Lots of things don't like being shot in the face. That's the theory.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like it's,
this is the moneymaker.
This is where the magic happens. Right, so it's D8.
Yeah.
Cool. That's a 4.
Okay, you fire your musket, and it echoes oddly in this tall, very long chamber. And at first, you're not sure you hit the glass mantis, and then you see kind of like cracks, spider webbing out around its glass head, and kind of like running a great deal down its body and across its limbs. It's not cracking yet, but it lets out a screech that sounds like kind of like wet fingers down a very dry glass pane. And either Doran or Tiva.
I think, given that I was hefting my rifle last turn, I am within my rights to ask for the next turn.
Go for it.
Yep.
So I will take the shot. Having noticed the damage that Grabina did, I will try and follow up toward the same location. And I will roll 7 on my D8.
Well, you know what? That same location bears fruit. You fire into it, and kind of like at first you're not sure you hit it. You think it's just kind of moved in a way that makes it vanish, and then you see all you can see now is those cracks spiderwebbing further and further out and kind of reaching towards the end of its limbs. And then a moment later, the mantis is gone. Now just shards of glass raining onto the thorn patterned gold floor, and a couple probably onto Yernak rather unpleasantly, who's kind of rolling around on the ground, clutching at that wounded shoulder of his.
I'll go and help Yernak up, I think.
Yeah. Brush the glass off him.
I don't think that transparent friend was a friend after all, Darren.
Everyone is a friend. Some people are just very bad friends.
I think
Some people are just not friends of us.
Yeah.
I think it got me with its pain wires.
Well, it was more of a glass stabber.
Pain,
Yeah.
pain
So they even-
glass.
I do kind of miss the meat dungeon.
Does seem like there's more
Fancier
pain,
dungeon with fancier nasties.
more pain creatures down here than there were in the meat place.
You know, we can cut our losses. We've got some decent objects.
Or your options are, just to refresh you, there's a door far to the north which will probably take you back into the corridor you emerged down on this level out on, which has other exits off it as well. Or you could take those fancy golden doors to the south.
However, I think if my mental map is correct, and given the fact that the fancier this place has got, the deadlier it is, I think we should exit via the other end of this chamber and take a look at the paths we did not travel from the initial space, assuming our pursuers have gotten bored and wandered off.
So, north then.
Yeah, sure. Between friends. I'll just point at the door. That one.
Right.
Yeah, the door back to where you came down. Sure.
Cool.
You can do that if you want.
I guess as we're heading north, we got a bit of time to do so if it's a big room, but I'll kind of point out that that even if we want to cut our losses, the ladder's a bit greasy, so we might need to find another way back.
Greasy ladders.
I didn't. Unless someone's got like a
Ladder
It's a degreaser.
Yeah.
One problem at a time. And the problem right now is adventure.
Absolutely.
I like to think of that more as an opportunity, Mr. Creed.
Oh, my dear girl. All problems are opportunities.
Doran
Right.
Creed, former butler, former project manager. So you emerge through those north doors, and you do indeed emerge out into the corridor where you came from, the big corridor to the north, which, just to refresh, you come out of the kind of door to the southeast of it. Further to your east is the corridor that led to the room where you found Dunbean. Far over on the west-hand side of it is a set of steel doors, and sort of on the south side, just to the left of where you just emerged, is what looks like a passageway that has been considerably melted. And also in the center of it, there is a greased ladder leading upwards, from the top of which is still audible, kind of like noises.
Okay, so they're still up there, but not coming down.
That seems to be the case.
And without backtracking, our exits from here are the steel doors to the west and
Correct.
the melted corridor to the
south and to the left of where you are now.
Yeah,
west
south,
of where
but
you are now.
more west.
South central, as it were.
Okay.
Not to quote 1 minute silence.
See
Mike
if we can
knows.
get through those steel doors.
Yes, have a look.
We're back in that top corridor, Sam, and we're investigating the western steel doors there. So you know.
You're on mute.
Sorry, there's 2 doors on the south of this corridor. One of them is melted. Is that right?
Yep, that's right. You emerged from the easternmost one of those.
Okay. Cool.
And now you're looking at the westernmost place.
Okay.
So, yeah, you go towards these steel doors on the west-hand side. They seem very kind of like big and firm and strong and closed.
Well, I think I'm going to give them a little tap very politely with my candelabra.
Absolutely. Well, a little tap won't do anything, but they're definitely not locked because it gives just a little bit.
Oh, well, after the appointed polite amount of waiting time after one should knock, I will open them up and take a look into the next room.
Inside is another one of these kind of rooms that's made of kind of like gold layered marble. There is only one thing in this room, and there is no exits. It is a huge white grub thing bound to the floor with thorny copper wire and writhing, seemingly in pain. It gives off no kind of like vocal noise, but it's certainly making a lot of kind of like unpleasant, slippy, squelching noises as it writhes against the marble surface.
They're quite big into pain wires in this dungeon, aren't they?
Yeah, I think we might try and
What?
aid our round friend.
Do you think that's safe? Maybe he's enjoying it.
Doesn't. I mean, I'm not a grubologist, but it doesn't. They look like they're in quite a bit of pain.
I don't know much about grubs, but I was once in another dungeon that involved pain wires. People mostly enjoyed themselves there.
Is anyone going to just look? Oh, I'm going to check his restraints or their restraints to see if there's such a way that I can release the poor thing.
It's definitely kind of like the thorny copper wire definitely roots into the ground, into like sort of very small holes in the ground. But at the same time, it looks like, you know, with a correct amount of force and a sharp enough implement, it could probably be cut. Several parts of it would have to be cut.
Well,
this reminds me of our friend Glutton.
Who?
A caged animal that we didn't help.
Oh.
We really did not help him.
Did you just leave him there, did you?
That sounds horrible. If you just left him, that sounds like a horrible thing to do, just leaving him. God, I can't imagine anything worse than just leaving him. Just leaving him alone. I can't imagine anything worse that you could have done than that.
We did leave him there. We did other stuff as well, but he was definitely left where we found him.
No, some parts where we found him.
Right.
Are there any fuel tanks around here?
Not that you can see, but you know.
Well, I, much as my candelabra has done sterling work throughout these last few days, it's going to take more than a piece of ornamental furniture to pry these bars off. So, would anyone like to help this poor thing?
Is there treasure in it for us? I don't really understand how these dungeons work.
Sometimes it's good just to do a little good deed or two on your way through a maze of meat and marble.
Right. Like, so you free a giant grub one day, and then if you get in trouble in the future, maybe a giant grub will come and rescue you.
That would be delightful. But
Right.
in the short term, think of if you were the giant grub. Would you appreciate some tiny helpful friends? Yeah, precisely. Precisely.
I don't think I'd like to be a giant grub.
But a giant grub free is better than a giant grub restrained. Are you with me?
I'm with you, Doran.
Can I ask Mr. Dunbean? Mr. Dunbean, do you know this grub?
Dunbean is hovering past the steel doors back in the corridor, kind of aimed at the grub and sort of vibrating slightly in what could be interpreted as any number of things, maybe arousal, maybe sort of fascinated interest, but maybe towards the top of that list would be petrified terror.
I don't think Mr. Dunbean likes the grub. I would suggest that we do not free him.
Do you know what? I would hate to see my friends fighting, so yes, let us abandon this plan. Sorry, Grub, we're already full of friendship for one day.
Really hope we don't get into a situation later where we could have been saved by a giant grub.
It's a conundrum, isn't it?
Yes.
Maybe we could free him on the way out and
Let's
scarf
do
her.
it. And then beat a hasty retreat.
Absolutely.
I think you've just picked up your way correctly through the ethical minefield, Mr. Farsi.
There we go. I do have to say that I was in my head all I could, and this is giving some stuff away, but the laugh is worth it, I think. In my head, as like Doran was giving that rousing speech of, better a grub freed than a grub restrained or whatever, and they went, "Hey!" All I had in my head was a cut to a black title screen, the music, like the Always Sunny music, and the gang sets the Star Leech free. That's the title of the episode. Yeah. So there we go. Are we moving on from said Star Leech bound to the floor in thorny copper wire then?
Yes,
I'm feeling good about our decision right now.
So the only other exit out of this particular corridor is that sort of semi-melted corridor that is south central. So is that where we're looking towards, assuming we're not backtracking to the gold doors or the steps down or the greasy ladder?
Yeah,
I think
South Central.
melty corridor, yeah.
Melty corridor. This melty corridor goes down quite a way, maybe like a third of the length of the very large chamber to the east of it. And it leads you to unsurprisingly, a melted room. The walls look like partially melted steel, maybe some kind of chemical corrosion. There's an acidic smell kind of soaked into the air and into those metal walls around here. To the north, the melted passageway you've come down. To the south, what looks like a securely locked reinforced door, and to the west, a corroded doorway. And on the referee's desk, an encounter roll, which is nothing.
So there's two
Otherwise,
doorways.
Yeah, one of them looks very secure and is visibly locked, and the other one to the west is corroded.
The seam's corroded from the outside, like it's not like something burst out of it. Yeah.
No. Like the side you're on is corroded.
There's one to the west and one a door where? Sorry.
South?
The secure and locked doors are to the south, and the melted doorway is to the west.
Is there anything else in this room, or is it just
Nope.
just a melted chamber?
That's it.
I'm going to go to the door in the west. Have a look
Melted door.
through. Yeah.
Sure. You open that up. There is what seems to be a very short little corridor that opens up into a large, slightly kind of like more dour room with kind of some marbling, but it's kind of like threaded through with metal rather than gold. There is what appears to be in the middle of the room a huge black-scaled six-legged thing that your eyes can't quite pass, whether that's like the kind of darkness of the shape or the kind of slightly cosmically scary nature of it. But it definitely looks quite nasty, possibly unholy, and incredibly unpleasant. It also seems to be snoozing. You can also hear a kind of like faint whimpering noise. Very human whimpering noise.
Good afternoon.
I am going to. Can we sort of navigate the room around this thing?
You probably could. Without going fully into the room, you can't see for sure, but it looks like there's certainly a little bit of room, yeah.
I'm going to see if I can very quietly investigate the whimpering noise.
Sure. Why don't you give me a dex roll then, please?
Okay.
The other three of you, are you kind of lurking behind Grabina in this little passageway, or are you accompanying her fully?
Lurking behind.
Yeah.
Right. I've got Dex 12 and I rolled a 4, so that's a success.
Okay. Yeah, you kind of creep forward a little bit, look round the corner, and oh my, we're at an inflection point! Lurking in the corner of this room, looking terrified out of his stylishly hatted mind, is none other than Helroth. He seems to be distinctly uncomfortable with the prospect of being in the room with this thing, and glances over at Grabina Gill with a look of some. Well, what does Helroth do, Stephen? And also at this point, I'm going to say, Stephen, are you playing Helroth or Grabina for the rest of this session?
There's a bit of me just wants to
fact,
throw it open
you know
to
what?
the.
You know what? For the rest of this story, like at this point, either Grabina or Helroth becomes your follower.
Okay.
Do we want just a vote in chat?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it, folks.
Helroth
And
or
other,
Grabina?
you know what? Other members of the crew here are allowed to vote as well. Because fucking partiality. Chat. If
who
you
am I
want
gonna
Helroth,
play?
put H. If you want Grabina, put G. If you want Stephen to adopt one character over the other, maybe you prefer the rakish naivete of Helroth and the Hat, or perhaps you are in love with the attractive dullard Grabina Gill. Got a vote there for Helroth.
I have just set up a prediction in chat.
Oh,
so you can now
fancy.
actually vote.
So you can
And I think
actually
we can vote as well, as long as we don't spend any points on it.
How long is it running
I
for?
don't know.
Oh,
It's
that's
only-
the ticky
it's,
down. I can see the ticky down thing there. Predict, chat. Predict.
Oh, choose. Oh, I just don't know. I think yeah.
Get your predictions in now, folks. You definitely use the thing that Chris has done rather than what I was talking about.
I did that as well, yeah.
For our viewers outside of the UK, Chris is doing the countdown music.
Quite
If
bad.
you're in the UK, I do not have to explain this.
What is countdown for our viewers who are not from the UK and may never have encountered it
British,
before?
Twice
British
nightly
game
whitely.
show, a British game show based on. Oh fuck! This just makes us sound like a walking clip. It's a very popular British game show based entirely on the participants' ability to form anagrams
And do basic
maths.
arithmetic.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it basic.
Well, someone needs to brush up on his math skills.
We're getting there nice to the final bit, right? I can't remember it's got a whole B section that I forgot.
It has
Currently-
boom. Yeah, someone pulled the batteries out.
Unfortunately, it's a goddamn tie.
Before that, it's like kind of like.
There we go. I broke the tie by double voting.
Does that break the tie? Is
Democracy.
that how that works?
In action.
Where the hell are where do we see the results, Chris? This is me being Twitch.
It just disappeared as the timer ran out.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
he broke
I don't
he broke it with a double vote, but is not going to tell us what he voted.
No, we got it here. It's Hellroth wins with 56% to 44% Grabina. Entirely nominal democracy.
There we go. Back to Hellroth we go. Oh Christ! This means I have to do Grabina Gill's voice.
You're all very welcome.
Hang on.
We have chosen well.
Just channeling and yeah, all right. There we go. Okay, I can do that.
Nailed it.
Sure. Just channel my inner Towie. It's fine.
Good afternoon, fellow adventurer.
Oh yeah.
This is going to be amazing.
Very close to a fucking spit take all over the into the odd book there. But we're fine. We're fine. Oh, he's back. There he is. Yeah. Oh, this is going to throw me off now. Hang on. Otherwise, I get. Can't be doing with that. Oh God, that's wrong. There we go. Hellroth, you've had a hell of a time, mate. You've been chased around this horrible underground luxurious palace by all kinds of nasties, and you've been stuck here for now what feels like days, but was probably realistically closer to maybe an hour or so. And you just don't want to move. When you came, this thing was awake for a while while you were in here, and was eyeing you with organs of malevolence, but has not actually attacked you, and now seems to have gone to sleep. But certainly cowed you enough that you just decided to do a bit of cowering.
So Hellroth has essentially survived this long with a combination of running and cowering.
Yes, essentially, yes, of various kinds, and definitely not enough to have known anything about any areas where you all haven't been. Conveniently,
strange that, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
Hello, fellow traveler. Sorry, hello, fellow traveler. I'm just gonna. Is that safe? That room that you came from? I'm just gonna go that way.
It's all right.
Hellroth is going to creep past the sleeping creature and back
Sure.
into the melted room.
Why don't you give me a dex roll for Hellroth, please?
Oh God, I forgot about Hellroth's stats. Right, okay, so when we left Hellroth, he had taken some damage. I don't know if he would have had a chance to have a rest.
We'll just leave him exactly the same as where we left him.
Okay.
We find him the same as where we left him.
Okay, so his dex is 9. I roll a 10.
Okay. You scramble past Grabina. She goes, "That's a nice hat."
Thank you.
And follows you back into the melty room. And you did say that you did succeed on your dex roll there, right?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Okay, well, as you are kind of scrambling past, and the others you like come face to face with the others, kind of coming the other way with your former companions. A loud, echoey voice behind you from that formerly slumbering six-legged thing says, "Oh, visitors."
Run! I'm gonna just
Sure.
run away to the north.
Smart. I will, as soon as I hear anyone yell "run," Tiva is going to run.
Sure.
I
you
will.
do-
I will also run while shouting after Helleroth. Don't dive down any chutes.
Okay.
The voice behind you says, "Come, come. I'm not a rude host."
You're a bit non-Euclidean, though, friend. A bit astrally dubious.
There is no reason to fear me.
And yet,
Yeah. I'm buying into this, and while everyone
course
darts
you
off
are.
down the corridor, I'm going to go. Good afternoon.
Give me that will roll.
That's a pass. God, I love having will.
Oh, good afternoon. What a lovely concept.
It's
As I
like the
say, there
moon.
is no need to fear me. I am not interested in any of you on a individual level. Somewhat below my attentions. The creature isn't kind of like moving, and there's no kind of visible kind of mouth or anything like that making these. The words seem to be kind of like apparating out of the air, you know?
Well, sir, it's nice to speak to someone. It's been a while since we have met someone down here not obsessed with pain wires.
Oh, yes. The somewhat rudimentary inhabitants of this shameful place. And here I am, trapped for what seems like an eternity now, or at least half of one.
How did you come to such an unpleasant fate?
Thwarted in my ambitions, a rude and sorry tale. Very little point in sharing now. I don't suppose you could lend me aid. Chris is so horrified by this, he's frozen.
You lost me for a minute there. I'll need to get
Yes.
that last bit of dialogue again.
The creature pondered if you could lend it aid.
We are quite limited ourselves, fleeting creatures traveling through this meat dungeon. But what can we do to assist you?
You could provide a way out. Perhaps
We do
even
have-
point me in the direction of, well, really anywhere with a significant population.
I do happen. We did come across a number of quite rambunctious gentlemen, one floor above us, who would be, I suppose, in some senses, a significant population. I could get you that far.
Oh, how many?
20, if memory serves.
6, but I believe there were 6 individuals, were there not?
Okay.
I think
there
it's
were
a
6.
D6. Let me just double check what the die roll is, and then we can confirm.
Actually,
Yeah,
do you know what?
It was 6 of them.
Hellroth has had a bad day, and numbers are all starting to look about the same. So I'm going to stick with 20.
Sure. Oh, no. It really needs to be some kind of mass population.
Oh,
But if you could open a way to the outside, there are mechanisms to the west of here. You could trigger one of them, the old pipes and systems that run through this place open a gateway of sorts to the outside. I can be on my way, find some kind of major population center and go about my interests.
I'm
And
sure
you
they would.
yourselves could escape this place. I have seen many of your kind wander through here fleetingly, briefly, before settling in for a long rest.
Once again, I was satellited there, but I will be. I'm sure they would love to meet you in Bastion. There are whole societies based around communing and talking to strange creatures that we have not met before.
Oh, there are many people there?
Countless.
Countless numbers, you say. Throngs of living flesh?
Throngs, all sorts, from the very highest and mightiest to the very lowliest. It is both a example and distraction from civilization.
Well, as I say, there are mechanisms to the west. Perhaps open them up and I can find my way out of here behind you, or even accompany you should you meet resistance. But there needs to be a way out first, you see.
Why does my internet only ever crap out when I'm talking to straight non-Euclidean horrors? I hate it. How am I supposed to find a partner at age 40 when my internet won't work whenever I'm talking to a cute, nameless being from beyond the void? We will certainly take a look at these mechanisms and see if we can lend some aid.
Wonderful. Simply wonderful.
I will politely, practiced politeness, take my leave.
Okay. Can I just perform a slight autocorrect to the things I just said? He did, in fact, say there are mechanisms to the east.
Okay.
Mechanisms to the east of where
room
he
he's in.
was. Okay.
Yeah, like it may not be an exact cardinal direction he's giving. He's just saying that away somewhere. I think they are close, if that helps.
Okay. Well, we are searching in the vicinity, so if we find the mechanisms.
It's worth saying, by the way, that within this room as well, there is another corridor leading west, kind of round and past the thing.
But he needs us to go east.
He said somewhere to the east of, rough east of here, there is some kind of mechanism that can help him get out.
And this room is to the west of the melty room. Is that?
Yeah. So I guess
no, you're in. Yes. You're in the melty room at the moment, kind of conversing with this creature in the room to the west.
So he's. Yeah. So he's either indicating the melty room itself, or I guess
there is a doorway in the south of the melty room.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
As well. Which I believe said was reinforced and securely locked.
So somewhere to the here is the room with the robots and the machinery as well, right?
Yeah. There's a couple of little places you didn't go that are again roughly to the east-ish of here or south-ish of here, but also immediately is the room to the south with the secure doors.
The places I can see that we haven't. The place I can see that we haven't been to the south of the big gold room. There was a door. To the south of this melty room we're in, there was a door, and then to the east of the mirror room, there were some steps.
That is precisely right.
Anyway, I believe we all retreated down the door we came in. So after politely disengaging from special friend, I will catch up with normal friends.
definitely that entire conversation was definitely heard by all of you, having retreated to the melted room.
Yeah.
Dunbean is kind of like hovering near Helroth and kind of poking him gently in curious consternation.
Oh, you've met our friend. And welcome, Helroth. I knew you would make it.
Well, of course, but 3 questions. Where's Munford? Number 2, who's this fine lady? And number 3,
right.
Hello, my name's Helroth. Nice to meet you.
Charmed, I'm sure.
And what's this bean?
Okay. May I answer the third question first, as that is the most confusing order to do things? I would like you to meet our good companion, Mumford Dunbean.
Morning.
The original Mumford Dunbell is unfortunately no longer of this realm. He was eaten by fish.
Oh,
Very nasty.
that's a shame. I really thought we were starting to become really very good friends.
Some of his parting words were about you.
Well, it's nice to know that I was in his thoughts.
Everyone looks a bit awkward. Apart from Dunbean, who's just kind of...
What a pleasant and friendly long-red chap.
You can't make up your mind whether Dunbean is being curious about Helroth or slightly aggressive.
I think he likes you, Helroth.
It's a very friendly bean, isn't it?
He's proven very helpful so far. He knew all about a grub that we found.
Right.
And
Somewhat
his family were looking out for the fish.
Does he know anything about personal space at all?
Oh, you'll get to know each other. It'll be fine.
Okay. Well, thank you for catching up.
Yes, I believe.
Scouted the place out for you. There's some rooms over there, and
we've been
there's
through some
corridors
bad-smelling ones.
Yeah,
a very
some
large
more rooms.
room. The pain wires, they were fantastic. Highly recommended. But
it's I don't know how long it's been. It was a
couple
time.
of hours, maybe.
Doran seems to think it's still the afternoon, at least.
It's always the afternoon somewhere. Do you think we can make any headway with this locked door?
Let's find out.
Well, the doors are quite hefty looking, but by no means like in an insurmountable fashion. It does have what appears to be like a lock that looks both rudimentary but also fashioned in an odd way that you do not recognize on it. But, perhaps it's something a candelabra could deal with, or even some other kind of actually dedicated item.
Well, does anyone have any specific tools for this? Or I can use the
No one has any lock
tabletop Omni tool.
I think I've left my keys in my other jacket.
I think you owned more than one jacket.
Well, that is it.
Well,
You're battering away at it. It's a strength roll, Chris.
Let's give it a go. Oof. Actually, hang on. There we go. That is actually a success.
Hey, after wailing away at this odd shaped steel lock for a little while, Darren Creed, there is a satisfying sort of crunching, wrenching noise, and it drops to the floor, and those big, kind of hefty looking doors just kind of like open, just like a little crack that you can heave open and aside. Okay. You open up into a relatively small room. It's got kind of quite plain metal walls and floor and ceiling, and there is a large, I guess, I don't know whether your minds interpret it as a panel or just a fancy table, but a kind of metal table or panel dominating most of the room. It's covered in faintly glowing kind of flashing lights of various colors, very alien symbols, familiar, like exactly the same as the alien symbols you've seen most of the way through this place. And there is a single large lever under a glass cover that can be like flipped up. Like it's a kind of thing where you flip it up and like just grab a couple of hands and like clunk it down into place.
Okay, so this looks somewhat like a machine. I was kind of glancing back over the shoulder to sort of see if the 6-dimensional madness creature is within earshot, and then realize
you don't think it can hear you from here.
I don't have any concept of what it uses for ears.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any amount of study would reveal that to you. Yeah, I guess.
So this might be some kind of machine, which on the plus side might be a way out of the iron coral. On the downside might be a way to introduce our friend back there to a large population center, which perhaps I've just become somewhat paranoid in the last few hours down here alone. But I think it might not be a good idea.
It seemed quite personable, just maybe a little tiny bit mass murdery.
A little bit, yes. I mean, Bastion's a big place, so he maybe could eat his fill and not have too much of an impact. But I mean, would you want that on your conscience?
No.
What I'm saying is maybe we save this lever for later.
I think so. But, well, we have to free one of them. It's this gentleman or the round friend. We can't leave them both cooped up here forever.
So, sorry,
not?
Why not?
For the principle of the thing. You can't go to a prison and leave the same number of inmates in when you visit than when you go out.
I mean,
you take one or two with you. That's how it works.
Granny Gill used to say that.
Right. If you go to a prison, leave nothing but footprints, take nothing but inmates.
But memories, yes. Yeah, exactly.
But memories.
That was their exact wording.
I think so far our decisions to not release captive creatures have been good ones, and I don't regret any of them, to be honest.
I'm with you, Tiva. I think we either leave it or we kill it, and I don't want to kill it.
Ludicrous. Anyway, as you have all very astutely pointed out, this is not a lever that needs to be pulled right now. So I suggest we continue with the adventure.
Onwards.
Very well. What are we doing? Are we backtracking, or are we going past the six-legged things room to explore further west?
Kind of fancy the gold door at this stage.
Up into the big room and then down to the south end of it.
Back to the gold doors? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, I think so. As I passed, as Heroth passes the room with the creature in it, he is going to kind of like look through his, I think, fairly bulging sack of treasure / utter tat that he's collected along the way, and just consider his one remaining bomb for a moment, and just kind of tuck it back in. But
Sure, absolutely. Well, you go through the melted room, up through the melted corridor, and round and down that gloriously betapestried large chamber to the gold doors to the south end of it. They give way to whoever opens them quite nicely, and feel kind of quite pleasantly lukewarm and soft to the touch, all that lovely gold. And they reveal a relatively large chamber, dominated on the east wall by a large glass throne. It seems also to have a glass crown on the seat. The south wall has 4 large glass lions stood in place, kind of rampant, like statues. On the floor is a fallen tapestry depicting some kind of design, which you can't see unless you kind of got a hold of it and unraveled it. And there is a corridor leading off to the west.
Well,
3 lions.
Watch
As
out for the glass
a,
things.
I was going to say, as an experienced dungeon master, I would suggest that we don't muck around too much with the glass throne, lest the glass lions decide that we are unwelcome.
I'll nod and show every indication that I'm listening to this conversation whilst picking up a glass lion.
Oh, you can't pick them up. They're like
Right. Oh, like,
person-sized.
okay.
Yeah.
Big.
Yeah, you could pick up the glass crown on the glass throne, and it does look it looks very well made, expensive.
Well, we are here for treasure.
There's also that tapestry on the floor.
So I'm interested in the tapestry. I'm going to go ahead and unravel the tapestry and take a look at it.
The fallen tapestry displays 4 lions in one purple, one green, one blue, and one yellow. The purple lion is wearing a crown. As you glance over at the glass lions on the south wall, you do see that each of them, within kind of deep within their heads, has a very small gemstone matching those colors within. So one has like a purple gemstone, one a green, one a blue, and one a yellow.
Oh, are you seeing what I'm seeing, friends?
Are we? Can we?
One of those lions is to wear the crown.
Purple one.
Would that be good?
Ooh, I'm going to pick up the crown.
Okay.
Put it on the head of the lion with the purple gem.
Oh,
So you're just picking up the crown. You're not wearing it or anything.
No.
Okay. You pick up the crown, walk over to the lion with the purple gem, place it reverently on the lion's brow, and how long do you wait with nothing happening before you decide that didn't do anything?
3 months.
12 seconds.
Then 13 seconds pass, and you start to suspect something. It hasn't done anything.
All right. That didn't work, Doran.
Well, symbolic gesture. Right. Help me get some of the gold off this door. I'm gonna take my candelabra to the door.
Again, give us a strength roll. Yeah, sure. Take you managed to knock a gold doorknob off. It's worth one gold piece. Or one gold, I don't know. It's worth something. Just put gold doorknob down. I'll work it out later.
Ha! Profit!
are we going to be able to open the door to get out without a doorknob, Doran?
He can't hear
Tomorrow's-
you now. rich he is.
Tomorrow's profit today, today's gold tomorrow. Problems maybe Thursday of next week. I'll get back to you.
Did you know my grandma? Yeah. You absolutely can. Like, the doors are already open, and there's two of them anyway. It's fine. Any further interaction with you at the moment? The purple gemmed lion is wearing the crown at a slightly fetching, jaunty angle, but nothing is occurring. Are we doing anything else with these?
I'm going to do this to the lion's nose. Boop.
Nothing happens, but you get a vague sense of displeasure.
I was expecting more from that, if I'm honest.
Symbolic.
Okay, free crown. I'm going to just put the crown in my bag.
Okay. Absolutely. So you tuck that away, and like I say, there is a corridor to the west.
Further up and further in.
Okay.
Woods.
You emerge into a large marble and gold room, the west wall, and this is something that eagle-eared viewers will have encountered before, at least a little bit. The west wall is occupied by a huge golden face, eyeless, an open, toothless mouth with some kind of coruscating white hole inside it that's kind of like spinning like some kind of maddened vortex and giving off a kind of woo noise. It's a little bit threatening. Helroth, you've encountered this before and decided honestly to leave well alone.
Yeah, I'm just going to be like, oh, you again. They're no fun.
Good afternoon.
Doesn't
Don't
respond,
say-
almost as if it's an inanimate golden face on a wall.
I'm
Which, to be
having
fair,
a
this is
break,
into the
though.
odd. It would have been legit that it was, a kind of, I don't know, never-ending story-esque or labyrinth-esque talking wall. But no.
Any other exits from this room, or is this the end of the road?
Nope, this is it. Just this coruscating white hole making a loud, juddering, jarring noise.
We met one of these before, right? But not gold. Is that correct?
No.
No. we had a
Helroth was in this
segue.
room in a flash sideways at another point.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a vignette.
Yeah. And
I
Helroth
will-
was just
I
there
will-
going,
I'm going to go and investigate closer to see if there's like a kind of switch for helpful wall friends to move into the on position.
Nope, nothing like that. There's no other mechanism in the room. Dunbean is kind of hovering vaguely close to it, but keeping a respectful distance and just kind of like tilting himself sideways every so often and examining it with a sort of sort of noise.
We
Is
could
it-
try and poke something in it.
Yeah. Is it literally sucking air in, or is it just making
No,
it
you don't think so, but there's definitely a little bit of pull to it, but not kind of a significant amount.
I'm going to put my half brick in it, my trusty half brick.
Sure, absolutely. How are you tossing your half brick in there? I for some reason I want to know if you just lob it like underhand lob or like pitch.
Yeah,
Or...
just a little casual underhand lob from a couple of feet away.
Okay. There is a really quite loud sound as your half brick makes contact with this swirling white void. Sort of the sound of something being rendered down to like the molecular level, a horrible cracking as the very elements of creation are torn apart, and then a weird slurping and sucking noise as if elements of them are being drawn back together and spitting out on the floor with a force where you have to like step out back a little bit to avoid your toes being like hammered a wee bit. Are two slightly inferior looking half bricks.
Are they the same size as
They
the
look
original?
exactly the same as the half brick, only just not quite as good. You know, they're a little bit chipped, a little bit worn, or more so, or so in a less familiar and comforting fashion than the half brick you knew and loved.
Ooh.
Stonks, gentlemen! I kind of barge my way forward and put the golden doorknob in there.
Sure, absolutely. After a similar devastating series of noises that kind of like leave you questioning the very nature of existence, if matter can be torn apart and reconstituted with such reckless abandon by this unnatural and you know, devastating force of nature deep within the iron coral, too slightly you know, just a little bit worn, a little bit dented, a little bit of a pattern on them that'll have to be scraped off at some point. Gold doorknobs pop out on the ground in front of you.
Well,
I've got half a set of silver cutlery.
I've got the other half.
Let me tell you, the imagination of this group knows no bounds. Step aside, all you beer and pretzel roleplay morons. We're the real crazy, surreal Imagineers here on Telling Tales. And on that incredible note, the prospect of 2 entire sets of silver cutlery in front of them, I think we will leave the cliffhanger for this week, because what could be more suspenseful than the thought of more cutlery? More slightly inferior cutlery. So there we go.
No, hang on. I'm going to pick you up on that, Matt, because me and Helwoth both have half the set. This is legitimately the best possible use of this room because we each get a full set out of it.
Well, a full set of slightly inferior cutlery. So, you know, it's arguable.
But
regardless, thank you for watching Into the Odd, folks. If you've got any questions or comments, please sling them into the chat and we'll address them. But first, some promo. If you check the links down below, you'll find links to YouTube and to Twitch. You're watching on one, please check out the other. There's also links to our social media, our Discord, and our Patreon. Have a look if those are things that amuse you in some fashion. We currently run 3 weekly series here on Twitch. Mondays is Warhammer that Sam runs. Wednesdays is Into the Odd, that's this. And Thursdays is our World of Darkness anthology series, the Cincinnati Chronicles, which I also run, and which is currently about to finish up its Wraith the Oblivion arc, and then follow up with Changeling the Dreaming. We also run monthly one-shots, the most recent of which was a week and a half ago, which was Mort Borg. It's starting to go up on YouTube now. Check it out. And this Saturday is another one. Quite a short period between the two, where Pierre will be running Absurdia, which is a lovely little indie RPG that's only just emerged in a kind of early access form, I think, because Pierre is a devastatingly fashionable hipster. He has chosen to run this. It'll be a good one. It'll be a good one. Yeah, also, we've had some follows and resubscribes and stuff today. Thank you for the follows to I Am a Dracula, which is an amazing name. Kinetic G and Bastionland, who I believe, unless it's some form of imposter, is the writer of this lovely Into the Odd system. Also, thank you so much for your 4-month resubscribe to Charlie Octogirl. We really, really appreciate that. Yeah, I guess I'll go in chat and scroll through and do stuff because I haven't had a chance to look. So there we go. Yep,
love
it's
a nice
fine.
awkward pause.
It's fine. It's fine. Cat movement cited from Steve. There was cat movement today. There was eventually so much cat movement, I had to have the cat removed. So there we go. Night Bites, still in love with the Lego character picks, as are we. They are great. I love them. And they feel right for Into the Odd. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want them for Simbaroom or World of Darkness or Morkborg. I guess if they're blood-soaked Lego, they might work for Morkborg.
I do want some Lego minifigs that look like they would fit for Morkborg, though.
Yeah, absolutely. A quick potential correction from Steve here, referring to Munford. He might not be dead just yet. He might still just be being digested. So,
Got that snuff box, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What's... don't kick food. The world is a sea worm sent to digest. I'm assuming that is to be sung to the tune of Bullet with Butterfly Wings by the Smashing Pumpkins, which is showing my age more than it's saying anything about what you wrote. Steve, I'm hoping that Chris finds an antique brass spear with an amazing backstory that Chris will forget every time.
I didn't even spot this. I was busy roleplaying.
There we go. Don't Kick the Food also described the fisheye humanoids as an extreme Innsmouth look, which I like. What else have we got?
I was very proud of my just send the 9-dimensional Euclidean horror to deal with the our pursuers, but turns out
It was a good thought.
didn't bite.
Steve says the robot isn't going to enjoy having greasy clackers. Who does?
Yeah.
Who does? What else we got? God, we had an active chat this time, and I love that. But you're making it so hard to find good chats.
If only we had someone around who could manage the stream.
It's
Some
an
kind of
overhead.
person
It's an overhead.
in
We can't
charge.
force John to log on every night. Welcome to Telling Tales, where we do real mechanical sadness.
That was very upsetting.
It's quite sort of. I think it's quite easy to hit you in the feels, Chris. It's basically robots and spaceships getting hurt.
Yeah, anything that's adorable or anything inanimate that's for some reason animate.
That candelabra is way OP.
That's true.
Getting the use of it. I get the feeling though that's what you're supposed to do with the props you get in the game. I think they're kind of generic prompts rather than props, perhaps.
I think in this game the candelabra's gone sort of full sonic screwdriver.
It kind of has, but when you've only got a hammer, every problem looks like a candle.
Sure.
Things you never thought you'd hear. I think I missed the meat dungeon. And a follow-up isn't a maze of meat and marble the next Game of Thrones book. It's the trick
never-
question. There won't be one.
Yeah.
Too real.
42. The Star Leech gets a bad rap just because of the name that's been forced upon it. Yeah, but nominative determinism. Yeah.
Also, I don't know who you got, the threatening 6-dimensional hyper being or the thing that's called the Star Leech. Like,
I do really
neither
want
of
to
them
see
are
them fight.
neither of them are proven to be hostile yet. I just want to point out they could both be just delightful friends.
It's possible.
John said, looking forward to Matt actually doing a southern accent. I think a lot of my accents are kind of southern, aren't they? I mean, not many of mine are actually kind of Essexy, but I don't have many characters who are like, you're right. But I do have quite a lot of kind of received pronunciation characters because I too watch prestige television. So
I think Granny Gill is the real hero of the piece.
Organs of Malevolence is my next band name. Honestly, just sounds like it could be a Troika supplement. Well, no, I think I'm actually thinking of a Troika supplement that's called Fronds of Benevolence. So that's good.
We do definitely have a style here on Telling Tales for our offshoot series, don't we?
Yeah, pretty much. And then a little plug here from Steve for Bastionland's official Twitch channel. So have a look at that. It's always lovely to get a creator here to enjoy the stream with us. Yeah, I think that's it. My brain is finally giving up. So I think I'm done for the evening. So I'm going to leave. You all can stay. That's fine.
We'll just explore the dungeon on our own.
You do without me. Hey, Hey, you don't need a GM. That's what the world of TTRPG hobbyists says today. So I'm surplus to requirements. I'll just follow.
Come and join us tomorrow for the exact opposite of this.
Yes, it really, really is. Come join us tomorrow for horribly harrowing existential dread. Yeah, please do. Thank you for watching. Thank you for playing. If you're one of these 4 wonderful people, and we will see you next week for more Into the Odd, for what I suspect, but will not confirm, maybe the Into the Odd finale. So we'll see how that goes. Until then, take care and stay safe, people. See you then. Bye-bye.